All right. Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. With me is my co-host, Matt. He's back. We had a couple Mattless episodes, but he's back and ready to go. Tonight, our special guest is Coach Cory Quinn, who's the head football coach at Tishomingo County in Mississippi. Coach, welcome to the Board Drill.
Hey, fellas, happy to be here and ready to talk some football with you tonight.
Absolutely. So, Coach, as always, we like to point this out. You're our first coach from Mississippi on the show. One of these days, we're going to hit all 50 states, or maybe 49. I don't know if we'll ever get in Alaska, but so we're super excited to have you, Coach. We're expanding the reach. So we're happy to have you on. Tonight, we're going to talk a little gun tee, buck sweep, some of that stuff, correct?
Yes, that's right. That was our big hang your hat play this past
Love
season.
it. Love it. I know Matt, that's right. This is right up Matt's wheelhouse, so he'll appreciate it. So, Coach, go ahead and share your screen when you're ready. While Coach is sharing his screen, I'm just going to remind everybody, if you're watching, listening, whatever, go to YouTube, subscribe to us. Make sure to like and comment on our videos. Obviously, it helps us grow, and as we grow, we're able to highlight more coaches. So help us out with that. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Board Drill Pod or X or whatever we call it nowadays. We're on TikTok. Had a huge day on TikTok, Matt. It was a good one. So at Board Drill Pod on TikTok. And then last but not least, our website, www.boarddrill.com. We write articles every week, free, and some paid content on there as well. But go ahead and subscribe to that and check out our stuff. We appreciate everyone listening. And now I'm going to turn it over to Coach, and he's going to talk a little bit of gun tee with us. So, Coach, go ahead, and the mic is yours.
All right, guys. We're let me see if I can get this thing in slideshow real quick. All right. Are we
yeah, we're good to go.
All right, we're on the same page right here. I'm gonna talk a little gun tee. And first though, I want to get kind of into my background some and kind of talk about the process that got me here to begin with. As a coordinator and cutting my teeth as a young coach, we were, you guys remember like the mid 2010s and all that stuff. It was Oregon and Chip Kelly and Mike Leach, and everybody's either Gus Malzahn, everybody's either air raid, power spread. It's back when an RPO was a bubble screen. So that was what the cool thing was everybody was doing then. So as I was cutting my teeth and I was coming through as a coach and learning, those were the systems that I was kind of thrown into. We were air raid when I was coaching in JUCO, and then air raid when I was coaching at Hernando High School, and then spread option style RPO system the year I spent at Arkansas Monticello, and then I kind of took all those things and blended them together when I got my chance to be an OC at Lake Cormorant High School in Mississippi. So, starting out there, I thought kind of had it figured out. We were scoring. I love the space game and the RPO game and the putting defenders in conflict deal. That was real cool then, and I took that with me when I first became a head coach. So I got the head coaching job at Lake County High School in 2020 and installed our spread style system there. It's what they were before I got there, and they've been successful. In 2 years, at a 14-6 record, a 4-2 playoff record, made the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and we averaged 30 points a game. And we only lost 3 games in our single A classification in 2 seasons. So obviously, as a young head coach, I felt like, hey, I still, the system's good. It answers questions and it helps, feature the players that I had. So that next season, so after the 2021 season, got the chance to move back closer to home and be the head coach at Tishomingo County High School in Mississippi. So I'm from Corinth originally. It's about 15 minutes from here. So the Tishomingo County job appealed to me because historically it's never been a great, consistent, winning football program. And I wanted to get my family back closer to home, and I wanted to get this thing turned around and do something everybody said couldn't be done here. So took this job in the spring of 2022. They were 1-9 the year before, and then I installed my same spread centric, 2x2, 3x1, 11 personnel, system that we use over the last few years, and all to the tune of a 4-16 record in 2 years and an average of 17 points per game. So what I had been doing was not cutting it here, and we needed a change, and we got it last spring. So in the spring of 2024, we totally sold out to the gun wing tee offense. And the impact that it had in the program was it happened pretty fast. We weren't teaching box rules up front anymore. We weren't, the kids weren't living so much in the if world. It was, hey, this is ruled up. This is what it is. And we'd rather be fast than have to think. So we finished with the first winning season at Tisch County since 2007 with a school record 28 points per game. We had 2 games that were pretty soaking wet in the rain, where offense was a little tougher. I feel like we could have gotten that to over 30 easily, but our players were more physical and more confident, and we maximized the skill set of our football team. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit philosophy-wise, about kind of what I feel like the difference is between what you would think a traditional spread is and what we're doing now. So in the spread system, I always felt like the adage and the motto was take what the defense gives you. They're playing like this, so we run that, right? Gifts, RPOs, formations to get the looks you need, lots of preparing, lots of planning. Is this guy I know y'all had Coach Tracy Malone on a couple shows ago, and he actually did a clinic with us, not this past spring, the spring before, and talked about how they go through their RPO process. It's all really good, but it's kind of like it was hard for me to get the things that I wanted all the time when all we got was overloaded boxes and cover zero. So in the gun T system, I feel like the mantra is take what you want, and ours starts with stop, buck, sweep, then you can see another play. So that's
hold on, Matt. I think we'll just have to clip that clip just for you, where you can just play it over and over on your phone every day.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Sorry to interrupt, Coach.
No, you're good. I mean, it's just the attitude that whole play brings to our offense, and I think y'all see it in just a second. And it went from we can't run that play into that look to we could run buck against anyone, no matter what they do. So one play is where we start, and that's the basis for our game planning. How are they going to defend buck sweep? And we see a bunch of different ways, and I'm going to talk tonight about the ways people use to defend buck sweep and kind of like the counters to that we have within the system to take advantage of that. So I'll start with the basics, and we do it just like Coach Kenny Simpson does it. We're actually going to that clinic this weekend in Oxford, Alabama. Really excited about that. But we flip the O-line between the strong and the quick side. We've got a quick tackle, quick guard, center, strong guard, strong tackle. So just real quick, if you needed a rundown for these guys position by position, your quick tackle needs to be your smartest one, right? He has the most variability, okay? He doesn't have to be some dominant blocker all the time, but he has to be the one that, that if something changes or the picture looks different, he's got the most kind of assignment variance. He can do different things. Quick guard's your fastest one. He doesn't have to be physically dominant, but he needs to be able to outrun your tailback on buck sweep and get to the point of attack. All right, so your center, he could be a bigger guy or a little guy. We had a 300-pound guy that is going to play at Lyon College this coming up year who was dominant for us at times, a big body. I love him. He was not getting up to linebacker level very much, but he could handle your nose. He needs to be able to reach front side A-gap on buck if we're getting some kind of tight underfront. All right, so your strong guard, you can hide someone here. He's your pull and kick guy. He's not asked to do a whole bunch of single blocking. He's just got to be able to open up, pull, right shoulder right, left shoulder left, and kick out the force guy. Your strong tackle needs to be your stud. He's got to be able to win a down block versus about anyone. And just real quick about these lineman positions, what I found hard for us in the spread world was finding prototypes at tackle and really at guard too. Because, if you're running the power counter system, or even inside zone and stuff like that at our level. So we're 4A. So we have about 500 kids at school. It's hard for me to find a left tackle that's as good as my right tackle. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about being able to run after my first year in our postseason breakdown, we ran power to the right for 6 yards per carry, and power to the left went for 1.2 yards per carry. Right. Because my left tackle was little and my right tackle was not. So that's just one of those things that we ran into with these positions and the way that you group them together. These guys, like you can find these type of players within your O-line room, and they don't all have to be the same cookie cutter mold, if that makes sense. So your tight end, that's the Y for us and everybody else. That could be a traditional tight end or your 6th O-lineman. And he goes to the strength every time unless we make a Y opposite call. We won't get into that tonight, but we've got it. Your wing can be a linebacker type body or your next best running back. He's got to be willing to block, and he also goes to strength unless we make a tag for him and he'll go away. Quarterback, he needs to be steady. I'm a big quarterback guy. I've had all types and won with all kinds, but it helps always, no matter what system you run, if they're a willing and able runner. So I'm going to show you some of the things that we use with our quarterback too in the buck game to kind of help us get some pressure off the box sometimes. All right, so now up on your screen, I just drew up your basic buck sweep against an overfront. Now, a lot of people are going to say, when did you see an overfront? Right? Because nobody does that anymore. Well, 4-down defense is actually starting to get back in vogue. About 4 or 5 teams we played this year, about half were some kind of 4-man front. And about, I think 80% of those, so about 4 out of 5 were some kind of overfront. So we'll start with the wing, the Y, and the strong tackle. Their rule, down. Pretty easy. And whatever distribution you get, we are down. The strong guard is pulling to kick out the force defender. So we define that to him as a first person outside the M-man line of scrimmage. He doesn't need to know if the wing's there or not. He doesn't need to know any of that because we might run buck away from the wing sometimes. He just needs to know that his track, he is pulling to gain ground into the force defender. Now, the old-time wing T guys taught the strong guard to get depth and then round it back up into the line to kick out the force guy. We don't like that as much because I feel like we get an opportunity to get spilled. And if we're running buck, I don't want to give you a chance to spill it and try to get the ball wide. We're running buck instead of pin and pull, buck instead of wide zone and all that stuff because we want to get a kick at the point of attack and puncture the defense with a wall built inside. So our center is on the back. Quick guard, pulling for depth as fast as he can. So some people also teach a skip pull here. We don't because it's such a long track. We open up and run as fast as we can and run the question mark, right? So he's coming up here and Bowen inside the kickout block, eyes inside looking for the first thing that flies over the top and giving it a bad day. The tailback is toe to heel with a quarterback relationship, coming fast and flat across. And we have a drill we call drive the bus. We got a great running backs coach that does a really good job for us. And you can see on this film, the tailbacks will drive the bus, which means they're going to grab the quick guard. And sometimes they'll slingshot themselves through the hole. A lot of times they'll just kind of use him to feel their way to get there. So as you'll see, and obviously we've got the relief screen tagged out here, which we will throw a good bit if I like the leverage. So you guys know as this stuff doesn't work out always like it's drawn up, but this track that the Y's on blocking down, normally he's going to wind up capturing the backside inside linebacker because when the quick guard pulls, that guy's going to try to come scrape over the top. If he tries to run through, we're going to outrun him. and we've got some answers for that too. So normally your quick guard is going to wind up rapid to the might right there. And guys, just like any level of football too, you know, when we first started doing this, I thought I'm going to have to get a receiver over here, you know, to get the corner out of the fit. Turns out those guys aren't jumping off in the fight anyway. The corners don't want any part of it. And if they tackle it, it's 7 yards downfield. Normally, what you see when you're running buck is they just sit there and pop their feet and are just kind of waiting on one of their other buddies to make a tackle. So that's what you see. That's what you see the most of.
Matt, week in and week out, this becomes a corner propaganda podcast, which I feel like is a direct attack on me.
It is a direct attack on you, and we've coordinated this.
Listen, I'm going to tell you look, all you corners out there, which none of the players listen to this, but if you listen to this and you're a player, I'm going to tell you exactly what you do in buck sweep. You get your ass in there and you go cut a guard a couple times, they won't come at you as hard, which I know is illegal, and I took plenty of penalties doing it, and I was a dirty-ass player, so I'll admit that right now.
It's part of it. I didn't realize you played DB. I didn't realize you played DB.
Yeah, Coach, I was a corner. I played corner in college, and then they assigned it to me played it in high school, and then in college they gave me a helmet, is what I like to say.
I get it. But man, look, I mean, in our league, we got some good DBs, but to a man, they are not coming down there to get it on buck. So I don't know what it is. Maybe their coaches tell them they get paid to cover too much. But anyway, I just went through all those rules, and I won't go through them again, but they're written down. We're down, pull kick, centers on the back, quick guard, pull wrap, quick tackle, seal, and B gap. So now here's some common ways that people troubleshoot buck sweep. And before we get to that, first, I'm actually going to show a few clips of our buck. Let's see, I got to pull it up. Y'all still with me on this?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's our buck. This is early in the season, and you'll see we just
Coach, real quick, I'll tell you this, if you slow-mo it, it's going to show up a little better.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So what I was going to say, too, is like you guys will see at the beginning of the season, we weren't as polished as we were at the end of the season. And to my O-line coach's credit, he's a big wing T guy. And he said, Coach, he said, look, he said, you're going to want to run strong belly, and you're going to want to run belly more than you run buck because they look better in practice. He said, buck is messy. It takes a while for the lineman to understand the fits. It takes a while for them to understand this and that. He said, but you just got to stick with it. So, I mean, and we said we're going to commit to it. We committed to it, and we got a lot better as the season went running buck to the point where in our big rivalry game, the last game of the season, we had 55 offensive plays and 41 of them were buck sweep.
Wow.
So as you guys see, this is game 2. This is the second game of the season. You see us pull, and 2, we get so many kind of screwy defenses and this stuff. They don't have anybody outside of the B gap here, so we wall it all down, even to the point where the strong guard's confused about who to kick, and we just lead up in there. But you see the back reach out and drive the bus.
Oh, yeah.
See that hand in there, and then we're barreling into the end zone.
Beautiful.
Pretty football play. All right.
Coach, when buck sweeps run properly, there's nothing more beautiful in football.
It is truly a beautiful thing. All right, here we go again. This is one of those rain games. I'll run it back. So let's see. There we go. This is a regular over front. We're mashing it down. Get a decent kick, get an okay wrap, and we don't get on the backer, but he's still making that tackle at an angle downfield, right? Which is what we want. We're not trying to run the ball laterally. We're trying to find the first puncture we could get and turn it up in it.
And, Coach, you can tell there your backside guard's using his coaching points. His eyes are back inside, and while he doesn't make a big block there, he's in the proper position.
That's right. He fits up. Like he's not – he doesn't whiff. So if there was anything we could do passing game-wise, I mean, y'all see what well, whoops. Y'all see what we're getting out here to the perimeter. I mean, we would be whipping that fast screen as much as we could. It's just when the one time when we threw that thing out there, the quarterback looked like he was throwing an iguana. I mean, that thing, like, it tumbled. I mean, it tumbled in the air. It looked like the wind picked it up. I mean, it was unbelievable. I was like, all right, don't throw that again. So we couldn't get the ball out on the fast screens, which, as you know, Coach, makes it easier to play defense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's always a good night. We'll just stick one guy out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They had 1-on-2 just in case, we could chest pass it. Here's a good example, too, of why I feel like interior pressure is not a good answer versus Buck. We always felt like if you tried to pressure us inside, we were going to outrun it to the edge because you didn't have any scraper flow players, right? You're trying to run through us in the middle, so we make what we call a domino call, which leaves the front side guard in, right? Because and we just kind of trade off who's pull kicking and who's pull rapid. So you see the quick guard, right? Now he's pulling for the D gap defender and force, and then we take it and we thread it in the funnel right there for a big gain.
Yeah, I've always said, so the backside B gap, right? This is a big thing with defensive coaches. It's a great place to blitz on power. And to an extent, if you want to do it on buck sweep, like you're saying, you really have to teach that guy to bend like a defensive end. And a lot of times, if you don't work that day in and day out, Coach, just like you said, they basically run to the backside and
eliminate the water, right? Play, and you don't have to block them. Like I've always thought that the harder thing for us to handle would be if they took this backside guy and they try to run him through, bleed him through downhill at an angle and replace the puller. That way you could try to stuff the force guy, could try to stuff the guard, and then you have something to bottleneck the ball back into instead of just trying to run through and blitz it and get a negative play backside. So I think that's hard. That's a harder thing for me to have an answer for.
Yeah, I mean, it's that you have to play that game with that nose and some of the backers at times to give yourself a chance other than just winning up front, right?
Yes.
If you can just defeat every block, then you can stop anything, right?
Yeah. Then it's easy. All right, here we go again. Back misses a cut there. Sorry, guys. I told y'all I'm kind of Gen Z with the technology. Get some bad fingers every once in a while. But this is our backup kid. He should have stuck that vertical. And then he scores. But this is great teach tape. He's a sophomore. If he will just stick it and chase the inside hip with a puller, he's gone. And instead, though, we rip off a 5-yard gain. But I mean that's the old spread guy in me. I want to score every time we touch the ball. It's just I don't know what that is. All right, so this is a team in our division that beat us the year before, guys. I think I was home at 9:00 because we had a running clock so early. And this year we got stopped on 4th and 1 and to win it. So like this stuff gave us a real edge and it gave us a chance. But here it is, just regular. This is blue for us, and then Buck. I don't like the wings track. He should have continued down, and we probably pick up that outside linebacker that comes over the top and makes that play. Y'all see 11, heck of a football player. Look where he is when the play starts. Look where he is when the play finishes. That's pursuit to the football. But you see too, like for us, down, pull kick. We lose our pull wrapper because we got penetration, but it's still a productive run. It's just such a tough fit to fit it right consistently again and again and again. So I'll show one more, and then I'll talk about things that we saw that people would do to try to slow Buck down. I'm sure it's stuff that everybody's familiar with, but I want it there. Say, watch us drive the bus again. Tailback's fast and flat. Driving the bus on 68 here, and then turning up into it.
Does a very nice job being super patient here.
He does, and he is. I call him our 160-pound power back. I mean, he's such a tough kid and such a competitor. And everything you coach him on, he wants to do right. And he doesn't turn up in there like he's trying to live forever either. When he sticks his foot in the ground, he's going. All right, so I'll go back to the presentation now. We'll talk about some common things we see that try to slow us down on our buck sweep. All right, so let's see. All right, so the first thing that we normally see from odd teams and even teams is we'll get that underfront reduction, which by under I mean to the quick side, you've got a loose outside linebacker overhang, a B gap player, whether it's a 4-eye or a 3-tech, a shaded nose to the strong side, a 5 to the strong side, and then either a wing buster that they play between the tight end and the wing, or a true 9 technique, whose job is to box everything back in. All right, so the other part of that underfront reduction would be, so you try to cover the center play side to prevent the strong guard from getting out on his pull, because when he pulls, that one tech's going to try to get in his hip pocket and turn and chase and not let the center make that reach. All right, the other thing that we would get is a hard chase from a quick side B-gap defender to try to run buck down from the backside to keep the tackle from getting a hinge block, and because the center's occupied front side to keep him from being able to block back. Obviously, backside linebacker trigger, vacating that area over the top and trying to run down from the backside after he gets boxed in, and just loading the box and trying to outnumbers to the strong side. No matter what real structure the defense was in, to try to keep us from being able to get buck off. So those are the common ways that we got to stop buck sweep. All right, so I'm going to talk about our answers to that first, and I'll start with our text call. So I'm going to come back to presentation or the huddle. All right, so this is something that was pretty unique, and I'd not done this before, but we would make a text call, and this is, I told y'all my O-line guy is an old school wing T guy, so this was their answer to underfront. So some teams would kick the front to the wing, right? We'd wind up getting a 5 to the wing side. So what we'd do if we have a shade and a B gap that looks like a 2 backside. So we would make a text call, which would tell the strong guard to block down on the shade, the center to work back, and then we would pull the tackle and kick the force guy with the tackle. See, look, there's my 160-pound power back again. Little joker hurts to tackle. But y'all can see that the play is the same, right? The play is the same. We're kicking just with a tackle, and we're wrapping. And if y'all notice, too, we didn't do a great job of it this year, but we're trying to shoulder block. And we got better at it. It's partially my fault because these guys have been trying to fit up with these big, pretty fits for the last, couple years. And then we're changing to trying to get our head, our shoulders on thigh boards and running people off the ball. It was a change up for us this year, but you see some of them do it right sometimes, and sometimes the fundamentals break down when we're tired or feel like we're a little overmatched. But we get the wall belt play side, the tackle's pulling, and he kicks, and then we wrap, and then look, there's your corner. Let's see if he's really dying to get off.
He's too far off. He's not about that life.
Not about it. Not about it. Knowing he's got the tight end, should be having the tight end in man. Get him. Then he jumps on and tries to get credit for the tackle late.
Coach, do you find when people run the under front, and let's say they're in the 5, right? So, obviously your check here, you got the wing blocking down on the 5, and then the tackle coming to kick the 9. Do you find that the years that you have a true tight end as opposed to that 6 lineman, that's a little tougher to do that, or just you've always felt pretty good about that tight end down on that 5 right out of the way?
Yeah, I think it depends on what your 5 technique normally is. Like if he's a big joker that normally would be playing a 4-eye, yeah, that's a tough block. If he's more of a defensive end type body, I don't hate the matchup as much. So this year we had a really good tight end, and like you see, I would like for him to get his head a little bit further down. This team did a good job of trying to cross face on down blocks, so we should have been working upfield shoulder instead of upfield hip instead of necessarily across, because he crosses his face late. And if we keep that guy walled off, but I'd like to see a little bit more movement there. And here we break the receivers up. We call that flop. I think that's what Kenny does too. But it's the same thing. So we're getting a shade. Y'all see they've kicked the front to the wing. We've got a shade. It's classic under. Shade 5-9. Down. Wing kind of gets a little screwy, but his fit's so tough that we're still able to rip off a big run.
Yeah.
But Coach, are you calling techs as part of the play call, or are you having them adjust that on the field?
They do it on the field. So I'm kind of unique as far as a bunch of offensive coaches go. Like when we're at practice, we film reps. We had a drone in my first 2 years, and we needed one last year. But I've got somebody back there filming, and I go stand on the sideline, and I have a script, and we have it scripted, but I'm calling the game. And so the quarterback sees me. I felt like early in my career, I would call a play and I would cheat. Like I'd be behind the quarterback, be like, "Hey, don't forget. Hey, this is this." And then our execution was not great during the game. So during the practice, I'm off to the sideline. I'm signaling the call in. Quarterback gets it. He calls it. He calls a play. And unless we have some kind of tremendous, crazy bust, I'm not coming out there to fix anything in the moment. We're just getting it on film, and we're going. So the O-line, they're responsible for making that call because they've got a shade and a 5 technique. And I think the center starts that call. It says, "Hey, let's go. Hey, text," and they echo it down so they know that it's on.
Coach, I'll give you one solution. Obviously, drones are the best, but if not, they make monopods, and you stick a GoPro on those. And Coach Avery is a frequent guest, swears by it for quarterback view, but he also said it's really, really good for O-line view, and you get it about 8 feet up and just let it shoot.
Oh yeah, we've got to get something. We got to get our film operation a little bit more nailed down this year. Instead of having the kid, the freshman that's hurt over there filming from the ground. We got a lot of things fixed this year, but now I get to focus on the little things finally. But then, there we go right there. That's a text call and a way that we kind of adjust that under front. So the next thing that we have, if we have an aggressive B-gap defender backside, we'll make a steal call. So in steal, when we go steal, we're reading that backside B-gap player. So if he chases the tailback, the quarterback's going to pull and replace him. It winds up, the distribution becomes a lot like midline. So let's see.
That's what I was going to say.
That's all it winds up being. Let's see. Buck steal. All right, here we go. Here's a good clip of Buck steal. So we got to this. It's a little bit later, and this is the last game of the season. This quarterback, by the way, is a sophomore. He could touch off fields with the ball. He's an extremely good thrower, but he's just so young that, I didn't feel right asking him to make a ton of decisions on the fly, but we repped this enough to where we could get to it finally. But you'll see, boom, there it goes. I'll slow it down this time. So we get that under front, we get that kicked over look.
Yeah, this is a great adjustment here. Just coming from a defensive guy, that's one where you just tip your cap and you move on.
It's tough, man. How do you tell that backside guy not to chase, not to chase Buck?
Well, Coach, you're also a non-traditional midline team. Once you start it's one of those, it's like, I had this actually happen to me by a team that was never ran midline. They did in a huge game on 4th and 2. It was one of those where I was like, great call, man. And you just got to move on.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. That's why I always wanted to be an offensive guy, right? I always feel like I have the pin last. But you see right here, we've got the text call on because we get an under front. And this team was really good at stopping the run. And if you look, it's because count. They've got 7 dudes over there, right? And then we've got the guy with the ball running it backside. and then keeping it up into the secondary for a really explosive play on him. And you see it's 3rd and 7 right here. You know, I'm one of those guys that if we're going down, we're going to go down swinging. Like if you're more talented than us, like you're going to see an onside kick or 3. I will take all 4 downs wherever. It doesn't. I went for it in one game in the rain. I went for it on 4th and 1 for my own 9, trying to flip field position. You know, like one way or the other, we were either going to get a kickoff back or we were going to get a first down and get out of the shadow of our own goalpost. I mean, it's
it.
Oh yeah, we got it. We got it. And in the last game that you watched, the Morville game, I kind of felt like that'd be a shootout. So it's 4th and 1 from our 20 on the first drive, and I went for it. We got it by a whisker. And then we put together a 10-play drive that scored a touchdown. We won 40-32 that night, or 40-30 that night. So, you know,
it matters.
It does. You know, the NFL, they just put out that chart about going for it on 4th down, I think, yesterday. And go for it. Yeah, I think it puts pressure on the defense when I make you defend all 10 yards instead of, you know, capitulating after three downs. But here we go. That's just that's our steal adjustment right there.
That's a good one, Coach. It really is. Like, again, coming from a defensive guy, my 3 tech's going to come to the sideline and go, what did I do wrong? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean,
because you don't, right? Because you can't coach him out of doing it, right? Because then the next time he's going to stop, you're going to hand it off, and you're going to be like, "Why weren't you chasing out?" You know, so it's
exactly. Or you're gonna open him up to getting trapped, which is something you don't want either.
Correct.
So the next one, this is our other one. We'll get to my favorite in just a second, but this is where we replace the linebacker on a slant. Kenny calls it key. And we just had it tagged. We had a quick game concept called Cobra that's slant flat. Nothing revolutionary, but we're replacing on a slant ball right there. And the quarterback's young. He threw my X into trouble right here. You can see how fast his team we're playing is, right? But the youngin, you know, like he knows now he's throwing that ball now. Ball's out. And that extra second gives that safety a chance. And him staring it down the whole way gives that safety a chance to get there. But we knew that they'd flow. And if we can get this ball, our goal is to get this ball completed on the hash so we have a chance to stick our foot in the ground and get up the hash. And instead, you know, we don't really get a chance at yak yards right here because we're getting hit so early. So that's something that Youngin can definitely improve on this season. It's not leaving our X receiver out to dry, no matter how big of a diva he is sometimes. Now, here we go. Now we flop it. So this is a tough formation to me, you know, along with the twins, is when we get tight end wing trips out here. And what we got a lot of was 3 roll or cover 1. It's 3 right here. They vacate again. Pitch and catch. Push it up 3. Stick. This kid, number 9, is going to play JUCO ball at Northeast. He had over 1,000 yards receiving for us this year out of the gun tee stuff. But you can see we've got a text call again over here. Chase at number 9 does such a good job of he pushes, sticks off that outside foot. And I would even say the quarterback could have done a better job of getting rid of it faster. All right, so now my favorite one, if we're going to get into, you know, really stressing the defense out, right? Really stressing the defense out. That's going to be, you know, when you load the box strong side, our quads and our empty overload stuff with our fast screens attached. So in that game I was telling you about, that county rivalry game, let's see. We got in, so we would get in red and blue over, which for us takes the receivers and takes them over to the strong side, and we would have buck called with the fast screen attached. So I'll show y'all a couple of those right here. Which again, nothing revolutionary, but I'm making you really think about and define your force player roles on defense. So now, hey, look, we get interior rush again. Doesn't matter. Not a great ball, but we catch it out here. We get 1 block, and we've got a very productive play.
Matt, what is up with these wing T guys loving quads and empty now? What's going on here?
It's good stuff, man. I mean,
Stop
like
it.
Coach said, the pressure it puts on the defense when you have 3-4 guys to the strength. And just what he said, what are you going to do with the force player?
Correct, yeah. And then, like you said, like back here, he's got a corner and a safety and an overhang sitting backside. Like, you got 3 guys plus 2 D linemen and an interior backer for a 2-man surface all backside.
Correct. And these guys are affected to play none.
Correct. Yeah.
And you don't have there's no secondary force out here or support. It looks like it should be cover 3. But let me ask you this, you're a defensive guy. What's up with coverages in high school having no rules? I call them Outback Steakhouse coverages. Like, it's no rules, just right. Everybody just kind of like plays over here and takes an area up and just gives body presence. Nobody teaches like, hey, they're not playing match or anything like that. They're playing zone by just standing.
Coach, we ran pure zone match. I mean, most of the time when you watch us, you'd have thought we were almost a man team by how much zone. Like, I don't know. That's what my kids could get. To be honest with you, I worked at a school where I had really, really good athletes, but the obscurity of zone, maybe like you're talking about, couldn't apply it. They couldn't figure it out, right? There was too much to leave to chance. But if we had this rule, hey, you're matching the hip of 2 unless he's out, then you're working the hip of, like things like that. Our kids can understand that purely. But if I was like, you're going to spot drop to the hash and you're going to work on cutting, the first thing across your, I might as well tell that kid to go out there and read a book. It's not happening.
Yeah, I don't get it. And like not this year, but this past the year before, we were a Ripley's match team on defense. That's when I was calling the offense and the defense. And I mean, I thought we picked it up fairly well, the leverages and stuff like that. But I mean, now like every team we play, they're just I can't tell you what coverage it is half the time. But anyway, so we do a good job of spitting this ball out right here out of this quads formation, and we get that was a drive starter, so we're getting the drive going right there. Now we go quads into the boundary. Same thing. Right, spitting that fast screen out, letting the receiver. Our rule on that's the same as it was when I was coaching in the air raid. You get 5 yards for the team, then after that is use the ability God gave you to do what you do with the football. But if we throw a fast screen, and I put the pressure on the quarterback too, we got to be perfect on fast screens. Hitches and fast screens, we got to be perfect. So this one we but this is before half, and I hate that if anybody were watching, they should know by film study, but before halftime, I love these plays in high school football because nobody ever pressures the point. We were able to score on this drive right before half. You see right there, it's 3rd down and 20. Look how much grass we chew up right here and get out of bounds. Right? I think we wind up getting the first down right there because nobody is pressing the point. There's no body presence right there. So I'm going to throw that as much as I can. All right, 2nd down right there. It says 3rd on the thing, but it's 2nd down. So the next play, we throw a comeback to the same kid for about 12, and then we run comeback and go, and we put it on him for a touchdown right before halftime. So again, it's the same thing, guys. It's overload quads, and then we're getting the fast screen out of it off our butt look. All right, let's keep going because the empty ones are more fun.
Defensive coaches that listen to the podcast, I apologize. Sorry, this is getting out there and being made public. Between this and those the other guys, Matt, the double G guys, I'm gonna have a lot of defensive guys pissed at me.
All right, here we go. So now we're in empty. So I think the hardest personnel group to defend empty out of is 12P empty. So that's basically what we're in. We're tight end wing over here with a heavy run strength and then trips backside. So that's hard. And now it's the same thing. See, the quarterback's really spitting that fast screen out with authority right here. Boom. And even though we miss a block, the corner jumps inside. So then where do we go? We're outside. And we're getting beaten. We're playing a really good team this night, and they beat us. but this stuff gave us a chance to move the ball. And we were in the red zone about 4 times and had zero points. I was very frustrated during this ball game. But all we do here is we take our tailback, put him in the slot. So in theory, if I wanted to run Buck coming back to this way, I could, right? We just jet motion him back across. He catches Buck on a head start. We could always fake that and then run counter back. We could always give our crisscross counter back underneath too out of that look. So that's just stuff, it's stressful. Now, here's the stuff that's dastardly. This is as a defensive guy, if you hated quads, you're really going to hate this. It's quintuplets. Tight end wing trips with Buck attached and the fast screen out there.
That's a lot of pressure on a defense.
It is. I mean, this is a 4-4 team. And where, what do you do? Here's the outside linebacker, here's your force guy, and then they shade the safety over. But same thing. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 people that are not affecting the playback side. Ball gets spit out on the perimeter. We don't block a soul again and rip off an explosive. See how tight that sideline is over there. And they're giving us that corner leverage. I'd be a fool not to take it. So this time we actually make a call where we double the overhang because there's no presence from anyone else. So we're just going to double team this poor kid and try to get our tailback on him too. And it really is truly like stealing. See if we can find one. I got one in a second where the quarterback keeps it, I promise. And it's the same thing here. We're going to double the overhang player. And we've kind of worked. People think I'm crazy. We do work combos at receiver. Boom, boom. We combo. We wind up getting 2 at the point of attack, and then 1 knocks 4 off, and he works up to the next threat. And then 9 chews up a bunch of yards. He was our dude. Let's see. All right, let's see. Let's find a couple where the quarterback keeps it. Find my empties. Yeah, say we got 151. That's my Buck master sheet. I've got 151 Buck clips. We had 550 offensive snaps.
Matt, that's like you with power.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did with power.
It's good stuff. Let's see. And I think the thing that you do as an offensive coach is take a thing and extrapolate it to the most that you can extrapolate it. No, we threw that one. I think we got a flag on that one. I swear I pulled one with a quarterback running it. Coming back to the – no, he threw that one.
Matt, you know what I'm going to say to this, right? What should you always do backside with 2-man surface?
Blitz.
Blitz who?
Facts.
Blitz
Send
the corner.
Blitz the corner. Send the corner. All right, let's
super rotate, blitz the corner, see what happens.
Yes. I totally
That's how it becomes sometimes, right? Like, oh shit, their trips over with the tight end and a wing, super rotates in the corner, see where we shake out.
Here we go. Now here's some clips of the quarterback keeping it. So this was when we got trips away. Right, chewing up yards. My quarterback's, he's 200 pounds. I told him he's a fullback that can throw it. And so that's his role for. But he really can sling the mess out of it. Y'all see how fast he gets the ball out on the screens. Right, so blue empty, and then we're running butt right there back to the boundary. Let's see. This one's the Belmont game too. Here we go. There it is. This time,
beautiful.
The quarterback doesn't do as great of a job of being patient as a tailback, but watch the guard propel him through.
I was about to say he got knocked off there.
Yeah, 100%. Yoop, there he goes.
Oh, this poor corner. 15 got picked on.
I mean, look, corner. Just, hey, let me just shuffle my feet and then shimmy right here. I'm just going to shimmy. That's tough.
You just got to come downhill and live and die with it and dive with some legs, see what happens.
Man, that's what you got to do.
General
right?
corner roll.
That's what I tell our corners. Like, don't let anybody put you on World Star. Don't. Y'all remember World Star? Used to put fights and stuff like that on there. It's like you cannot let anybody put you on World Star.
You just gotta look, like I used to say, just get in there by the line of scrimmage and chop some wood, see if you come out victorious. That's what I used to say.
And then here's one that I really like that we saved all year, kind of polished it and repped it. This is the missile. So we call this missile. And it told the B or the wing that we're going to block the force with the slot, and he's going to come on out to the corner. Kind of like you said you were with Jimbo. I'm sure y'all used to run key screens like this with the 3 receiver surface where you'd use 2 to block the point.
Yeah, they did that.
3 would scrape paint and try to work out here for the corner. So this was the first play of the game in the county rivalry right here.
Oh, yeah.
Look, have y'all seen either one of these kids? So 68, 54, look how fast they're running downfield. They pull about the same speed on Buck, but they're getting it right there. Almost beating the receiver down there. So that's one that we really liked. And we came back to it one more time in this game. I love it to the boundary because you get the wing out there a little faster. He wasn't flat enough right there, but we still, that's still a 9-yard gain just because there's just a lack of body presence. They're afraid we're going to throw it deep, I guess. So, everybody's backing up and we're just taking what taking what that space says we should take. That's stuff that I'm able to bring from the spread world into this gun wing T stuff and kind of marry the two things up with a real physical run game as well as the ability to attack space. But guys, that's the presentation right there. So that's kind of the common ways that we go through, and I've got all this stuff drawn up. Like here's a text call where we're down and we're pull kick, and then we've got the steal adjustment right here. We're reading the backside end. There's our Cobra slant, our replace slant that we work, and then here's our empty screen with a screen attached to the quarterback buck, and then the overload with the screen attachment and quarterback buck off of that. So, y'all ready for me to stop sharing my screen now?
No, you're good. Yeah, we don't want to see ourselves that much. Love of God. Hit stop sharing at the bottom.
All right, here we go.
No, Coach, first off, if you're listening and you want to see that presentation, Coach was nice enough to share it with us. So we'll put it in our presentation folder that is linked in the description of the YouTube here. But Coach, just a couple things, and I know Matt's going to have some notes because that dude just takes notes all podcast. But what I like about this podcast, and we talked about this before, was our ability to highlight coaches from all over the country and not the coaches that everyone's used to listening to. And we always say we want to find the coaches that have taken a 1-9 team to success, right? Because those are the guys that have made some of the best adjustments, and those are some of the adjustments that other coaches need to hear. There's a lot of coaches out there right now that are head coaches that are not bad football coaches that are 1-9 at the end of the year. I was 1-9 at the end of my first year as a head coach and distraught. And I was like you, Coach, what are we going to do? I don't know the answers, all that stuff. So just listen to your story of what was it, 1-9, and then you said what, 4-16 or something like that?
Yeah, we were. So I went 2-8. My first 2 years, we went 2-8 both years. Now, first year, it's kind of like anything. There's been a lot of head coaching turnover here, and whether that's because it hadn't been successful or, the reason it hasn't been successful, I'm not going to say and speculate, but been a lot of turnover here, so that first year, it wasn't so much the kids are like, oh, we've got a good coach. They're like, we've got another coach. So the first year was really about digging into, relationships and kind of figuring out the guys that were going to stay and see this thing out. Second year, we were more competitive, but we still weren't, we hadn't found the edge to winning and we weren't able to punch out of our weight class yet. Like with the stuff we're doing now, we can win the prize fights in our weight class. Now it gives us a chance to punch above our weight. some Friday nights.
And right, Coach, and like you said, you didn't abandon everything you've done, but you said, hey, we've got to change direction a little bit. Let's figure out what that is. And then you implement it and you were successful. So I think if you're a coach listening, like that's the biggest message I want to hear you tonight. Don't get me wrong. This Buck T stuff is awesome, except for the empty stuff. Never do that. But Coach, that's what I love about this podcast. We get to come across coaches who we've never met. And if you're listening, right, we don't set these up. Coach knows we emailed a little bit. We talked about 5 minutes before we kicked off here, and then we rolled with it. And so it's awesome to hear these stories. So, Coach, I think that's my biggest takeaway of the night is just watching the adjustments and how they made your kids more confident, and it's turned into more wins. And it's being patient, right? We talked about your kid as a patient runner. It's being patient as a head coach too. It's more patience than I have. I never want to be a head coach ever again. That scared me away, Coach. I'm a DC, but I love that story. So, for those of you listening still, like I want to point that piece out. Matt, I know you got a few things, so go ahead.
I mean, looking at this, buck sweep's a great play. I mean, it's been around forever for a reason. And I grew up wing T, absolutely love. There's a place in my heart for buck sweep. But the adjustments you have on it with the text call, steel, cobra, missile, that's what makes it work for you because you have answers for when they change what they're doing or they present a problem. And I think a lot of coaches kind of let that go by the wayside. Hey, we're going to run this base play, but they don't have answers for when a defense makes adjustments and changes to what you're doing. You got to have that built into your offense. And obviously coaches built that in and it's working for them. And, if you're going to have that bread and butter play in your offense, you got to have answers for what the defense is going to show you and know where you're going to with it. And the kids got to know what you're doing with it.
Man, absolutely. And I'll touch a little bit on the program stuff too. Is like, the X's and O's are fantastic. I also spent, 2 years and changing the culture. It's what everybody says, but making it something that's tangible. We take attendance in the weight room every single day. But if you're here every day and you don't check out and you don't miss, you get a Sonic coupon. I got with a Sonic in town. I give out Sonic coupons.
Awesome.
For perfect attendance. Summer workouts are mandatory. Before I got here, they were optional. So our summer attendance is fantastic. We go from 7 to 9, 3 days a week in the morning, right? And at 8, we're in a place where the kids, once they're done, they're going to pick the weed eater up. They're going to work. They want to get as much work as they can before the sun goes down. So at the end of the summer, if you make a certain amount of workouts, last year it was 25, 30. We do a steak dinner after Meet the Braves night. So we had 52 kids, 49 ate steaks, and the other 3 ate hot dogs. And the year before, we had 54 kids, and I think 47 of them got steaks. So, it was getting them to buy into, I'll respect your time if you'll show up. We're going to be organized. You're going to know what you're doing every day. All that stuff adds up over time. And then after we do that, there was another problem that was here was, guys would quit in the middle of the season and stuff like that. Experienced that my first year, and I said, never again. So after that steak dinner, we have a commitment ceremony where you get your wristband. This year's theme was no excuses, and your locker tag. Once you get those 2 things, there's no more quitting. Quitting's done. So I've lost 1 kid during the season over the last 2 years, and that was last year, and that was for stuff that was beyond our control. But this year, we didn't have any kids even waver, so, and some of that's what success brings, but a lot of it, the program stuff is important, and you're able to get to a point where when you put something in that's new, the kids trust it and they think it's going to help them win is what I'm trying to wrap that point up.
Well, Matt, I was going to ask our question, but I'm pretty sure he just answered it.
I think that was it.
Coach Quinn, I'll tell you what the question is we are always asked, but I like that answer right there is what's the most unique thing you do that not a lot of other people do? And boy, I really like that as the answer right there, unless you got something else you want to add to it. But that was a pretty good answer. Beat us to the punch there too.
I think the thing that we try to do a great job of here is stealing time. Like if we've got, so we're on a very strict schedule in the weight room. We're on block schedule, but we get done with a core 1 and a core 2. Nobody's standing around. We get done with all that in an hour and 15 minutes, so from the time that they're in their chair at 1:35 and then we're knocking it out. For if we've got 15 minutes, if it's 30 degrees outside, we're going to run some stuff in the weight room. We're running buck in the weight room. We're running belly in the weight room. We're running, like I had an idea that morning in class that I sketched out, like we're running it in the weight room. If it's nice outside, I'll say, hey, go put your cleats on. Meet me outside in 3 minutes. They sprint to get their cleats on. Then we're outside having football practice for 10 minutes with no helmets because we're allowed to do that. And right now in February, and I know, we're supposed to pour mouth as coaches, but I think we're better than we were last year. Just accumulation of all the time that we've stolen and the concepts we've been able to rep over and over and over again.
Well, Coach, that's awesome. We appreciate you coming on tonight. Again, it's great to have you in our first Mississippi coach, but, just listening to you, Coach, I got a lot of faith that program is going to continue to trend upwards. And just listening to you speak, I think you made a fan out of me and Matt, and we'll be watching it. We always said we didn't do it last year, but I think this year, Matt, I think we need to make a spreadsheet and just track the coaches that come on the podcast and see how they do, because I think it'd be a fun thing to do. And I mean that in a super positive way for every coach that's been on here. The coaches we get are awesome, and I take something from every single podcast, and I want to see and watch and cheer for you guys to be successful. And so, Coach Quinn, I'm a fan. If you ever need anything from the board drill, we're here to help you guys out. We're just two slapdicks ex-coaches, so there, we can only do so much, or as people like to call us, Matt, what are we called? Whiteboard coaches?
Yeah, whiteboard coaches.
Twitter coaches.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get some gear made that just says like Twitter whiteboard coaches.
Swag.
We're going to get like dome hats and start selling cool things. Matt, did you see the new one? Just duo it?
No, I didn't see it.
Saw that.
And then they made a Ripple is match hat. And I was like, so they're Coach Quinn, they're right down the road from my work here in Jacksonville Beach. So I was like, hey, I'll be by tomorrow to pick that hat up. Thanks.
Hey, all of our football games are streamed on it's called Jack Ivy on YouTube. If y'all want to get on there and watch any of our games from last year, get on there and you can go back and it's pretty good quality. You can click through. You
shoot it over to me
of our team from week 1 to week 10.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's what me and Matt are going to track that a lot more this year. I think this year the board drill is finally coming into itself, right, Matt? We're getting a little more mature, so we can do things like that. But all right, if you're still listening, I appreciate it. Again, subscribe to all of our channels, all that good stuff. So for me and Matt, for Coach Quinn, again, Coach Quinn, thank you for coming on. We appreciate having you, and we will see you guys next time on the Board Drill Podcast.